Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Austin-Heeley in the shop today, and we have leaking rear axle seals. So a lot of times if you've got a big Heeley and you park it for a while, you move it, and then all of a sudden you see two wet spots under the back wheels. It could be one of two things, generally speaking. Either your brake fluid is leaking, and that's pretty common. You might have a wheel cylinder that's leaking brake fluid, or there's some seals on the axles, and those also just dry out. They get old, hard as a rock, and then that's going to leak fluid too. And so you want to make sure that you know which one. Both are important, but the brake fluid is probably a little bit more critical. Anyway, I'm going to show you how to change the axle seals, and we'll go from there. So let's get started. Okay, first thing you want to do is jack up the car safely and take the wheels off. It's always a good idea to take a closer look at the splines on both the wheel and on the hub. You want to make sure they're in good shape. And then, now we need to get the drum off. If you're at home and the screw's not budging, this is a special type of screwdriver. It is an impact screwdriver, and it twists when you hit it with the hammer at the same time as kind of cutting farther into the screw. So very useful tool. Okay, and if your brake drum doesn't want to come off, you might need to loosen it a little bit, so make sure you know where the adjuster is. It's just a square bolt sticking out the back. You loosen a little bit, and then all of a sudden you can get at it. All right, now we need to get this off. Same thing, there's one screw holding it in. There's your axle. All right, let's go set this down. By the way, if it weren't obvious, it's a good idea to have something underneath, just especially if the car's not level, you could have some axle fluid dripping out. Now, give you a little bit better of a look here. And what we're going to do next, we need to get this nut off. I'll get to that in a second. There is a washer that goes around that's folded over to lock it in place. And so that's something that we're going to need to address here. Let me actually move the light for you. It might be more helpful. All right, with something like this, a cold chisel and a hammer, we'll get it started. This is a pretty sturdy washer. If you're careful, you can reuse it. So just get it started with that kind of chisel, and then go to something with a blunt, flat end so you don't ruin it. Enough. Okay. Now, I have the Churchill tool for it. There is an 8-sided socket, and then this bit that fits into the axle so you know it gets lined up straight. That's going to be very difficult to find. So if you're doing this job at home and you don't know where to get one of these, well, basically eBay, it's not like they still make them. You could pick up a socket like this from Moss Motors, which is something that I bought right before I found the Churchill tool. So either one will work. There are different styles depending on the year of your car, so just make sure you're paying attention to that. But for most big Healeys, with a 6-cylinder anyway, this is the correct one. Another note, on this side of the car it's normal threads, but on the driver's side or the left side, depending on what country you're watching this from, it's going to be a reverse thread, or it may be a reverse thread, so just pay attention to that. When in doubt, a hammer is always the answer. There we go. Okay. The washer has a little tab that fits into a hole on the side, so it won't just pull straight out, so don't just grab at it with a pair of pliers. And now the part that most people have trouble with, getting this out, you need to remove the hub. The correct tool to use is a slide hammer. I've seen people use 3-jaw pullers. That will work. You put a plate or something in front of the hole, and then you've got something to press against, but it is much, much easier to use one of these if you've got it. If you've never used a slide hammer before, they're really cool. All you have to do now to get the axle out is this. Sorry, the hub, I should say, not the axle. Gotta use the correct terminology, but it's still ridiculously simple. Okay, we're gonna leave this alone for the time being, and we're going to replace our seal.